parents, seriously. For real. You know? So when these kids told you, yeah, Bill would be doing this.
My son was an amazing man.
Yes.
Everyone who came in contact with him is privileged. And they're better for it. And they know more than they ever knew they thought they knew. Someone else has something to share, something funny I could write right now or anything.
Honestly, I don't have something funny to say, but you know, I mean, the one thing I could say about, you know, I mean, most of you guys know him as Bill, you know, obviously we all call him Bill, you know. I mean, I just felt like the time that I've known him was very short, you know. I met him a few years ago, and you know, it's like people say, you know, it's a dime a dozen, and he was a dime. You know, it's rare to come by a person like him, you know, because he was very honest. You know, he was very loyal. He was very faithful. He was a great friend. You know, and you're right. It was a privilege to be someone like Will. You know, Bill, William. You know, because I mean, people like that. You know, it's hard to come by someone like that. You know, because you know, I mean. Just everything, you know, I mean, like everything that he had to say, I mean, like, obviously, it came out, you know, I mean, he was fascinating. I mean, like, a lot of people said, yeah, you know, this and that, but, you know, he didn't come, you know, like, come to mind. I didn't see him as a schizo, you know, I didn't see him as anything, you know, I just saw him as, you know, a unique individual, you know, and I mean, he was a great person, you know, and you know, I'm gonna miss him, you know, like, just, but, you know, I'm sorry I suck at this, but, you know, I mean, like,
You're doing fine, brother.
Awesome.
You're doing fine.
Like, you know, from what I've known, you know, of him, from what I've learned from, you know, I mean, he was a great person, you know, I mean, other than all the arguments and everything else. He was, you know, I mean, it's rare to run into a person like that, you know, so open, so honest, you know, so, you know, of all things, you know, just so loyal, you know, just a great individual, you know, and you know, like I said, you know, from the, you know, even though I've only known him for a short period of time, you know, you know, we bonded greatly, you know, other than his 8 o'clock energy drink to his 9 o'clock. Yeah, I mean, that's what made him a great person, you know, I mean, like, he was just down to earth, you know, other than his 40-minute speeches and his knowledges, you know, but, you know, it's, you know, you don't run into people like that these days, you know. He was amazing.
Thank you.
Well, Sarah and I are neighbors who live across the street, and I would witness a lot of these discussions late into the night. 1 o'clock. You know, it never really bothered us. And they were never loud. They were never really, you know, rowdy or anything. The discussions were amusing, and I would drive up, hi guys, and I always got a nice hi guys back. And years ago, I was burglarized, and I'd shared that with Will, and he said, "Don't worry." He says, "My bedroom faces your house." He says, "I hardly ever sleep at night." He says, "I'm going to be your watchdog, and I'm going to keep an eye on your place." And he did. He would tell me, "Well, last night somebody came by and did this or that." And so he was our neighborhood guard, and always had a good word. Would stop me in the middle of the street and then start his discussion. "I've got to put the milk in the refrigerator." Well, gotta go. And the beer story, he asked if I liked beer. I said, "Sure, you know, we have a beer once in a while, no big deal." He says, "Well, I'm going to bring over a special beer, a special collector's beer." And he came over one day, and he had a beer in a box, a gourmet box, and we drank it in little tiny glasses, and we shared this one beer, and I'm sure that one bottle of beer was more valuable than a whole 30-pack. It was great. But we touched on every subject, and a couple of them I kind of held my own a little bit, but he skyrocketed on everything. So I really enjoyed him, and he always had a smile. He was always parading up and down the street on his way somewhere back and forth to
Get his energy drink.
get his energy. And I never saw him angry or mean to anybody. He was always with friends and always as polite and nice and generous, and that personality always showed through. I'm going to miss him.
Yeah, he was very nice to me. He always says, "Hi, Sarah," while he's out there smoking. When I had a little beer in his hand, he always say, "Hi, Sarah, how are you?" And
30
he was
degrees,
very
he'd be out
polite.
there. 110
And
degrees.
Really,
Yeah.
I see him
Sometimes
coming up.
barefoot, Craig, yeah.
I see him coming down the street, and I was going in my car, and I go, "Oh, there's Bill." And he goes, "Bye, Sarah." I said, "Bye, Bill." Oh, but I will miss him.
Thank you so much.
I think our home was another spot, like you were talking about, the gathering spot. Our driveway is the gathering spot, and our back patio table, because my boys were
Oh, okay.
very good friends with Will, and we became very, I was just in awe of him. I taught school for 36 years, and when I could understand and follow and actually say something, I'm not trying to, say I'm as smart as he was, because I was not, but when I could actually tell him something, give him a little info that he didn't know, maybe he didn't know, I actually did something, and then I just feel fabulous, because, he said, "Wow, yeah, that's right," and I just felt, he just made me feel good, but he was just a very, very, and I know the word unique is not enough, but he was very, very unique individual. I learned so much, and I loved his wit. He had us laughing, because he could come up with these one-liners that I just, just burst out laughing. And if I was cooking dinner and maybe the group was there, and I'd say, "Would you?" It wouldn't be anything fancy, but would you like, some? And he was always just so appreciative and just thank me, and it was nothing. It was just, but he just enjoyed the camaraderie, and I enjoyed that. My sons enjoyed that. Our friends. This is my surrogate son over here. I have a lot of sons, and I seem to. Boys, I seem to get more best with them. Boys, yeah. And I just thought he was just an amazing child, and you were just so fortunate that you have him. And we were all able to share in that too short a life,
He adored you guys.
but we just really, really appreciated him.
And that special beer that I think that Craig, that he shared with you, may have come from.
Well,
Thank you.
my husband, was the manager over at Frank's Liquor, so he kind of introduced him to the finer beers. So the Bud Lights and things were never in our home, so it was always better, and I think we introduced Will to
It was a
lot
good
of.
beer.
We introduced him.
Yeah, the
Well,
funniest thing
we
was,
had a
it was
little
never,
expression
it was
that
never
said
Bud Light, it was
yellow.
Mike's Harder Lemonade. It was Mike's Harder, you know what I mean, but, man, I'm gonna miss, I'm just gonna miss him, just everything, lives, arguments.
Even the arguments, because Will could always stand in any argument, If he was arguing with my son over here, he would stand right in and stand on his beliefs.
Go for hours.
That's right.
And they went on for hours.
And one time Will was talking about something that he was trying to develop. He was trying to develop a product that would
Yeah.
greatly enhance the life of his parents. He had a really true love for his parents, and I was impressed with it. But one time he was talking about this project, and we were sitting there, we were talking for an hour on it, and I was trying to come up with something, that I could add to it, and I did. I came up with something, and he said, "I never thought of that." And I felt like I was on top of Mount Everest. And one time I got Will, I bought something for Christmas for Will, because I know Will liked knives, and I wanted to find something
I
different for
remember
him.
him telling me how much.
So I got him a cigar cutting knife, and trying to figure out how to use that was like trying to figure out a Chinese puzzle box. And he got the biggest kick out of it, because he had never seen anything like it, so,
Thank you so much for being such good friends.
I think what I liked was, I met Bill when he was, 10? Probably, maybe 9, I don't know. I was a little bit older than he. And it was just a year or two. The first Sunday I met him at church, and he came up and he talked to me, and I was in my 40s, and he was just as comfortable as he could be. It didn't make any difference how old you were, how young you were, or who you were. And he just was comfortable talking to people. And I had never talked to a kid his age who could talk about things that I like to talk about, like science and engineering and art, and you name it. And kept me quite entertained over the years. Frustrated at times.
I saw that a little bit once in a while.
Once in a while. And I'd go over and see you, or go over and talk to you and Ed, and he'd drag me off to his room because he had something new he wanted to show me. It was always an adventure going to the Bernhardt home.
That it was. Right up to the end, it's an adventure.
Well, at the time, this wasn't a fond memory, but over the years it's become, and now even more so. But when I started going, because I didn't start going to Morningstar until a few years after we moved to the neighborhood, and I had a Mustang, a red Mustang convertible that I absolutely loved, and for financial reasons, I made the decision that I needed to have a less expensive car, and so I traded it in and got a Ford Focus. And when Billy saw that I didn't have the Ford Focus, the Mustang, he was just, I don't even know the words. He really let me know how stupid he thought. He did. I tried to do the, make this a life, a learning lesson for life, and the finances, and I don't remember exactly what I said, and he could absolutely no more care what I had to say, because it was just the stupidest thing that he could imagine at that time, and he was probably, maybe, let's see, in 2002 or something like that.
Then
11 years ago. That's 17?
Yeah, so he was late teen.
At
Yeah.
car age.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he probably knew all the ones out there.
It was, why would you do this? You had this great Mustang, and, so,
I remember that berating you got.
yeah.
Did you learn from it though?
Oh, yeah. Hide my car around the block. See what I saw. There you go. That's what I learned.
Well, Michelle, I know you've got stories.
Lots of stories.
Okay,
I
well,
spent lots of time at the Bernhardt's house. I used to tutor Billy in math, which was quite an interesting feat at times.
one chapter would turn into several days. Because we would go over and we'd get on tangents and he'd have me laughing, and then we'd talk about something new that he saw in his room, and then of course it'd get lunchtime, so then we have to go get lunch. It's his work. And then I come back and I go, okay, Billy, we have to focus. So we'd focus for a few minutes, and he'd get some math done. And then he'd go, well, you know, and he always had to have the last word. I said, but Billy, we have to get, oh, well, I need to talk to you about this subject. And it was random subjects, and I would go along for quite a while. But he always had me laughing, and he always had the biggest heart. I mean, he was so welcoming to the people that he came in contact to. Once he met you, you were family. I mean, he just came up and hugged you, and you were like his best friend forever. And he welcomed you into his circle. I mean, and we would go to Sizzler, and he'd be like, Michelle, can you buy him lunch? This is, you know, a homeless guy. And so, okay, Billy. So I would get a gift card, and on the way back, I'd give him the gift card, because I don't believe in giving money. So I got him the gift card, and he's like, oh, thank you. I'm like, okay, now we know he'll eat one more meal. Okay, Billy? Okay, can we go back and focus on that? And then, I mean, to know Billy, I mean, he just was a big heart in my life. He was a big part of my family. And then when I had my daughter, he would come and babysit her, and they grew up together. And she was really, it's quite sad that she couldn't make it today. But he was a big part of my family, and just tutoring him and getting to know him, and he was very smart. And he just knew a lot of different subjects. And the only one I knew more in than he did was math.
And he was lazy and didn't want to do it. So he would distract her with whatever he could. And
Once he had
you were
your back,
distractible, Michelle.
Well, it's kind of hard when you have somebody who can talk a lot about a lot of different subjects to keep them focused on
I
one.
know.
And it was one that he really didn't like, so.
It's true.
once he made you laugh, and he'd set you up, he was so quick. Okay, like, here's me, and there's Bill. And so it was real easy for him. And he would say something, and then watch. And as soon as you laughed, all those teeth would show, that big Billy smile. And he had you. Whatever rabbit hole he wanted to go, you were already there. Right?
Very true.
You just couldn't stop
Yeah.
laughing, you just couldn't.
No, and once that was a hook, and you were gone. Forget it. Cancel your schedule because
Right.
you wanted to be there.
Exactly.
Yeah, endearing. He was,
Now, when he was really little, he was the one that would do the laughing, and you couldn't get him to stop. Once something struck him funny, and my son Mark, who was the same age, Mark and Billy would be in the back seat of the car, and Mark became a master at just timing everything to make Billy laugh to get him in trouble.
Yeah.
So Billy was always getting in trouble for laughing too long, too loud at the wrong time, and Mark was usually the one who set him up for it, because he knew once Billy started, he could not stop.
And as a side note, Mark, his best friend growing up, you know, when he was little through the Morning Star years, is the one who drew the picture of him and Billy in the tree on your bulletin in our, on our tree in our home in Larkhaven in Moreno Valley. And they spent hours playing up there, confiding, talking, being boys, and
Creating characters.
yes, and very special time in their lives to both of them. And so that along with is one of the reasons we chose the urn we did for Bill, which is a pine tree, and it's an actual urn crafted for that. And you know, Billy was anything but conventional, and that's what he would want. I know that's what he would want.
Well, for what little bit I knew Billy for, I knew him for 4 years. Patty and I, we lived at Caddy Corner across the street from Lori and Ed. And I met him 4 years ago. Ed and Lori came out and introduced themselves to us, and Bill came right along with them, and, you know, very friendly and everything. But the only thing is, Bill introduced himself to me as Will. So I always knew him as Will, you know. I never knew him as Bill. I always called his dad Bill. I never knew his dad's name was Ed. Across the street, Bill and Will, that's all I knew him for, but everything that everybody has said tonight, I can relay, and he's told me about it, talked to me about it. Stuff he would come over and talk to me about at times I didn't really understand what he was saying, but I would go along with him. And boy, sometimes he'd come over and we'd be in the garage just talking, and he'd go on and go on, and then all of a sudden he'd have to go and leave. He'd say, see you later, and all of a sudden he'd be back maybe the next day or the day after, talk. But the spider that we had in our front yard was a great big spider. We raised a lot of great big spiders, small spiders. Especially the big spiders. Well, the spider, we didn't know what it was. He said, just a minute, I'll be back. I think I know what that is. Well, he came back the next day, and the name of it was an orb weaver. Orb weaver spider. He said, they're not poisonous. They're a good spider. Don't hurt it. I said, Bill, we don't hurt any animals or nothing. So Bill was the type of person that he loved spiders, bugs, whatever, crawled on the ground that I knew him, you know. He was really good with things like that. A lot of things I'm going to miss, you know, is hearing him come across the street with the squeaky old shoe. The shoe was squeaky. One time we were in Walmart here, about 4 or 5 months ago, and Patty and I, we were walking through the aisle, and shoe squeaked. That's damn Bill. You and Bill were walking through Walmart right there, and sure enough, it was Bill squeaking shoes. Little things like that, him coming across the street with a great big smile, you know. He's always smiling, very friendly, you know. One time we were out working in the front, the wind came up and blew a shade cover down, and it bended all up, and I told Patty, throw it away. It's broke, bent. She tried to fix it. Will came over to try to help us, and him and Patty were going to go back together even though it was bent. Will said, we can do it. We did get back together, but, you know, he did bring me over one day right out of the blue, brought me over a really nice pocket knife. Gave to me. He said, everybody needs a knife, I think. You know, I'm in gardening, and I use the knife all the time.
At least one. Sometimes two, just like
I didn't get 2 or 3, but he did bring me one knife. But things, if you had, you know, wanted to find out something, Bill would let you know what it was. Any questions or things like that. He'd give you the shirt off the back.
Yes, that he would.
You know, he was a super good guy, and I'm going to miss him. I mean, I only knew him for 4 years. Him and Patty would talk a lot. I didn't really understand too much about his condition. I didn't even know really he had anything wrong until this all kind of blew up. But he's going to be great for this for me because he was a true friend. I got friends, but Bill was one of them that was on the top of the list. He was just one of the special people in my heart, is how I look at it. I've mourned a lot for him, you know. The first day, you know, I was with him that night. I seen him probably 3 hours or so before everything happened, and then we were at the hospital with him, and I got to go in and be with him, which I was very privileged to have the honor to go in there and be with him at that very last moment before him. So Patty and I were both close. I was very angry with him. Couldn't figure out why he did something like that. Kept asking and asking, but then the more I learned about the condition and everything, it fell perfect into my heart that he, you know, it's just, he's flying around in heaven with angels. And my little granddaughter said, we were talking about it, she said, told me that the angels up there, your friend up there, he doesn't get cold. I said, he doesn't get cold. No, he's got big angel wings that keep him warm. So, you know, his heart's free. He's going. He's living wherever he wants, he's enjoying life. And he's gonna be great at this. You really know whatever you guys need. We are right there, always.
Thank you so very much.
Yeah. He's one of my best friends. I love him. He's a good friend.
And waiting for those spiders to come back this spring.
I can't tell you.
I know. If any of them have any kind of a saying out web, I'm gonna come let you know. But they'll be back, and I know that's one of the things that I'm waiting for, so it reminds me of that conversation we had with our friends.
Patty and Terry provided all the food tonight, along with Sarah and Craig with the mints and the nuts and everything, so thank you so much for doing that for us.
Go ahead, yes, of course.
I found out, I found some cryptic messages on Facebook, and the Holy Spirit spoke to my heart, and I went to Bill. And Marlene confirmed it for me, and I just broke down. I knew him at Morningstar, I knew him as a child and a teenager. I never realized how much older he was than Amanda, though. They got along, it was kind of cute. But one story, and he always made me laugh, he would, like everyone else said, he'd stop you, you'd be doing something at church, and he would stop me, I'd be like working in Kid Connection or something, he'd stop me, I just gotta talk to you, I just gotta tell you something. And we'd be there a half an hour, 45 minutes, and I'm like, Bill, I gotta finish this for church tomorrow, and no, and like you said, one more thing, or whatever. And then he'd get me laughing and stuff, and we'd hug, but one time that we got to spend with you, Bill, I treasure. I was going through a hard time in my life, and Lori took Amron and I with Bill up to the mountains, and that's when we got close. And I'll never forget him with the raccoons.
Yes.
We had raccoons that like got into the trash and stuff, and he wanted to open the door, and Mom said no. He wanted to get out there with them, and she said no. And we tried to get him away, and Amberana's all wanting to look at him, and it went on. It seemed like forever with these raccoons. I'm telling you, it was so cute. And then we went on hikes, and boy, he was real tall, even as a kid. And she and I were always short, which we still are, of course.
He was like up here, me.
And I'm like, hi. He would go fast, and she'd be like, Billy, slow down, we can't keep up. Dude, Amaron was like way back there because she was little at the time. And I just hold that special time in my heart. He always made us laugh, and he got involved. He did anything and everything he could to help at church with anybody. There's just
His heart's never changed.
no. He has a wonderful heart, and I miss him. And I feel. I wish I would have had more time with him because you guys moved a long way, and she was still growing up, and I never got out here. I feel bad that I'm coming to see you at a time like this.
Honey, nothing about this feels right for anybody.
But we love you.
I know
I wish I'd had more time to know Bill.
that. So do we.
I've had a lot of friends and stuff in my family, they're all gone, everybody. But it seems like all the good people that's been in my life. I just wish that he was still around, But those kind of souls, love, and love, and love. Seems like however long you get, you're never gonna be enough. You're gonna want one more day, one more day. You know what's cool, Larry? Ed? Excuse me? You know what's really cool? Is everybody's telling the God's honest, heartfelt truth. And it's just wonderful to hear.
It's what a mom and a dad would say, or an uncle about the boy, the man. You got, we're saying the same thing, that's so,
And I know he knows, and I know he's here.
oh, yeah.
His presence are here with us.
I know. His friends are here, everybody's here, and that's what I wanted. I kept
He
thinking,
was a man that loved nature, trees, birds, plants,
anything.
anything at all that lived and breathed. So,
You know, he loved those boots.
oh yeah.
Never would try to get that one fixed.
Okay, Morningstar folks, especially Morningstar, everybody. I'm kind of picking on Morningstar folks. This is He Knows My Name. These are the last two songs. It should show two songs there. He Knows My Name, praise song, and then we'll follow that straight away with I Need You and the Strength of My Life. We're going to put those two together, but it'll be real clear. Because I'll stop playing and wave my arms. No, you'll hear it. Here it goes. Okay, you guys, after this, I know I said I was tired before, but there's a few more sheets of music, so we can sing some more outside when we're done. I just love how that feels to hear it. Okay, excuse me.
I just wanted to say, you know what, some people may or may not know that Bill had a very strong faith. A very, very strong faith in God. And when he went on tangents, schizophrenia sometimes will take you into little sidetracks and little side cubbies. But Bill was always God's child because Bill told me that, not because I said, you know, Bill's God's child. Bill told me in even his most recent days, Mom, no matter what, no matter how hard, no matter what I'm hearing or seeing, I'm God's. And that is why we sing. Because I don't want to sing, okay? I don't want to sing. And I don't want to sing about God. And I don't want to sing about anything to do with God. And to be honest with you, I'm really quite pissed off at God. But we sing about God because Bill is God's child, and we are God's children, and it's not about how we're feeling, it's about what's true. And what's true is God loves Bill, and God loves us, and therefore, we sing.
Lord, you are familiar with my ways. strength of my heart today. Oh, I love you. I do. I just, God bless you. My final thoughts, that says on there, pretty empty, so I love you. I love you for being here and sharing. It will stay with me. You know, I mean, something like this, you fill up with stuff that you don't want to fill up with. You love the heck out of people around you. You appreciate the loving that they're doing. And every moment that gets closer to this event is just terrible. But it's good, but it's terrible. It's good because, I was just talking to Ed, in one way, this week is a blur because it went by like that. In another way, every second, every minute felt like 60 loud seconds to get to this point. But then, we're at the end of it. And I'm so grateful that it's the love made it worth it. And we'll take it with us, and it'll always be with all of us. We'll not... I'm sorry, John.
I'm sorry. I just sat in the car before and seen change hours. And Billy was funny, dude. So I show up at a party, and I walk in and I'm like saying my hellos, and Billy's over there smoking a cigarette, doing his thing. I walk over, I was like, "What's up, man?" And he's like, "So I've decided to do a tattoo on somebody if I allow them to do a tattoo on me." And I was like, "Oh, this is a terrible idea." But I'm there, okay? So, and then he's sitting there, he's going on his rant. He's like, "Yeah, you know, because he's studying it. He's watching my buddy Aaron do it. You know, he's gonna do it. He's gonna figure it out." And then my ex-girlfriend walks up and goes, "So I'm going to do a tattoo on somebody." And I was like, "Oh God, this is going to be awesome." And yeah, like, it was so interesting because like I was watching my ex-girlfriend do this, and she's sitting there really intently, and it's terrible. And then Billy does it, and I was like, "Dude, you're really good. You know, maybe you should." And he's all, "Nah, it's not my thing." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." But so for the rest of that 3 years that I was with my ex, I'm like, look at it. I was like, "Dude, that's really good, man." Because I couldn't do that good. I tried, you know. Trying to do it on watermelons and stuff, couldn't do it, but yeah. It's terrible. Because I wouldn't do it on somebody else, but and then that knife thing, you said, I met Billy, I don't even know. How long has it been? It was a while ago. I met him and he like did our thing, you know, and the next time I saw him, he hands me a knife. And I was like, "Oh, cool, dude, thanks, you know, a knife." Put it in my tool bag, you know. And then like a year later, I'm looking at it and I saw an infomercial for it, and I was like, "Dude, this is like a really expensive knife." and so I go to John's house and I'm like, "Dude, so like Billy, dude, this knife is like, this is not." And he's like, "Yeah." And then Billy walks in, he goes, "Yo, I'm not gonna give you a crappy knife." And I was like, "Yeah, that's a trip, man. It's a trip." It was fun. I enjoyed it. And then, like, the last time I saw him, I was like, "Billy!" And he's like, "It's Bill." And I was like, "All right, we're maturing." and he just looks at me, and I was like, "But you'll still fall for this." And then I dropped the circle, and he looked at it, so he got a punch in the shoulder. Yeah. But yeah.
Thank you, brother. We'll close with Darlene Hampson singing Amazing Grace. It just wouldn't be right if you didn't.
It really wouldn't be right if you didn't.
You want to sit or you want to
No,
stand?
I want everybody to stand. If that's
Okay, outstanding or real funny,
comfortable, or would be great. Join the circle if you can, if you want to. Brendan type.
So Bill says Bob's in.
Got John in here and.
I guess I should put this down, huh?
We thank you all for coming here. Some of you drove just a couple of blocks, some of you drove about 6-7 hours. And none of it matters. We're all here and we're sharing this time together. It's greatly appreciated by friends, my family, and I hope that it's spoken to your heart also. There are people in this room I didn't know knew him as well, and that makes my heart very happy. Thank God for who he was and for the influence he continues to have and will have, and we do not know how God will use this decision that he made in his life. We do not know. wanting to be seen. Just kind of what was life. Never knew what was around the corner. Never knew what to expect, and I think that will continue.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. Be the strength of my life. Be the strength of my life. Be the strength of my life today. Lord, be the strength of my life. Be the strength of my life. Be the strength of my life
Something to me one of the that came on and sums up who he was. He said Billy cared about what was important. He cared about what mattered. No matter if you were big, little, rich, poor, whatever color you were, if you had a need, he wanted to meet that. He cared and he knew what mattered in life, which most of us don't, and that's loving